तो बंद कर दो. Okay, sir. Shall we start?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
मैं करता हूँ थोड़ी देर में बात.
Shall we start, sir?
हाँ, शुरू करिए.
Okay, sir. A very good morning to all of you on the first day of 3 days National Online Faculty Development Program on Research Methodology, Tools and Technique. Myself, Dr. Ravikant Modi, General Secretary, Inspira Research Association and Head of the Department, EFM, Lal Bahadur Shastri Postgraduate College, Jaipur. On behalf of Inspira Research Association and LBS PG College, first of all, I welcome our today's eminent speaker, Professor Rana Singh. He is currently Vice Chancellor of Sanskriti University, Mathura, and he is the former Director, University of Jazeera, Dubai, UAE. I also welcome our distinguished professors, Professor N.D. Mathur sir, Professor Anil Mehta sir, Dr. R.K. Taylor sir, Dr. Aarti Chopra, my friends and colleague, Dr. Anupam Jain, Dr. Krishna Mohanji, Dr. Kirti Rawat, Dr. Ashok Kumar, Dr. Mangu Ram, and all the participants who are attending this event on Zoom as well as on YouTube live platform. Friends, I hope we all will learn so many things regarding research in these 3 days. I request all the participants to attend the session actively, as we will send a link of assignment based on the session all days at the end of the session in the chat box of Zoom as well as in the YouTube comment box. The assignments are mandatory to submit by all the participants. It will be like MCQs, multiple choice questions. Friends, if you want to ask any query from our expert, today's expert, you can write your query in the chat box of Zoom as well as in the YouTube comment box. We will try to expedite your queries to the speaker at the end of the session. Selected queries will be asked by me. So now I request Professor S.S. Modi, FDP chair, to speak few words about the event. Professor S.S. Modi.
Good morning to all dear friends. On behalf of Inspira Research Association and LBS PG College, Jaipur, I welcome you all in this FDP MDP on research methodology, tools and technique. Today's learned expert, great academician and resource person, my dear friend, Professor Dr. Rana Singh,
Madam, please आप WhatsApp
Vice
कर दीजिए,
Chancellor,
हमारी चालू
Sanskriti
होगी।
University,
WhatsApp
Mathura, and former Director, Institutional Effectiveness, Quality Assurance, University of Jazeera, Dubai, UAE, Dr. Rajiv Srivastava, Co-Chair, FDP, MDP, Principal LBS PG College, Jaipur, and Vice President, Inspira Research Association, and Professor Dr. N.D. Mathur Saab, Professor Dr. Anil Mehta Saab, Dr. R.K. Taylor Saab, Dr. Aarti Chopra, Dr. Anupam Jain, Dr. Krishna Mohan. They all are those who are always ready to cooperate us for any such academic event. In this 3 days FDP MDP, first of all, on day 1, today we listen Professor Dr. Rana Singh ji on the topic research methodology, technological perspectives. Normally and frequently, he is invited many of countries and many of places in India regularly. So today we shall listen him today. Thereafter, selected questions, queries of the participants received in chat box of Zoom, comment box of YouTube Live will be answered by him. Now, looking to the limitations of time of you all, I invite now Professor Dr. Rana Singh ji to deliver their speech. Professor Rana Singh.
Professor Rana ji.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure, privilege, honor, and delight to be with you today. My heartfelt and sincere thanks to Professor S.S. Modi and Ravikant Modi ji for conceptualizing such a wonderful program at a very short notice. It's my pleasure to have luminaries with me like Naresh Dutt Mathur ji. We have with us Anil Mehta ji, Rajiv ji, R.K. Taylor ji, and many other eminent dignitaries with us today, whose name I'm not able to take. And it's also a pleasure to have with us so many eminent academicians from different parts of India and abroad to attend this session. Well, the prime agenda of today's topic, which I took, was to have technological perspective of research methodology. And we would understand the finer aspects of how we can leverage the technological dimension to research in short period of time with much higher degree of effectiveness and efficiency. So this shall be the entire focus and agenda of today. Now, so with these words, we'll be starting with the entire presentation today. So we'll talk about what research methodology is, how we are going to leverage technology in technological dimensions in the process of doing research. We'll talk about the various web-based surveys and the various statistical surveys which we conducting research. And let's understand one moment. Okay, so we'll talk about the entire process one by one, and I'm available to take the questions offline, online, both ways. And at the end of the session, the participants, they can ask the questions. So we'll also talk about online research in business, how we are leveraging online research in business to take effective decisions. How can we use the management information systems to take better decisions, and how it's going to enable us in the process of strategic planning, implementation, and control. We have evolved various online research methods which help the organizations in understanding the problems on a real-time basis and also analyze what can be the plausible solutions, and thereafter look for the best possible solution at the end of it, and then take the required interventions in the process of running the business organization. Today in this presentation, we'll also talk about data visualizations. Well, we have state-of-the-art softwares these days which help in visualizing the software. We use the software to analyze the data, and what we actually do is to understand the data trends. We do data modeling, and ultimately we define a particular research problem and we find a solution to that research problem. So that lies the advantage of the technological perspective. Now we'll go one by one so that about the various web-based. There are various web-based services which are available. normally we talk about primary research and secondary research. When we talk about primary research, we prepare survey and we administer it. Now, we have multiple opportunities to use online platforms to conduct the web-based survey. So when we talk about survey mechanism, now the surveys which we administer using web as a medium, we call them as web-based surveys. Now, one of the most commonly used web-based survey these days is, we call it as Google Forms, which is available in Google Docs. In Google Docs, one of the sections is Google Forms, which is currently being used as in such scenario. In such scenario, it's important for us to understand how we are going to use the surveys and collect the data, analyze it, and then give the recommendations. And after analyzing, we give our own recommendations. So the web-based survey collect the data from the customers, from the respondents in a short period of time without much effort and energy, and us in collecting data in a short period of time. So we have forms, we have surveymonkey.com, we have SoGoSurvey, we have Qualtrics.com, surveyplanet.com, survey.com. There are many others. Now, most of them have some features less, some features more. So if we are able to use them, we are able to understand how they're going to enable us in terms of getting more and more advantages from the web-based surveys. Now, the first and foremost important is, when we are doing these web-based surveys, the first thing which we do is to create a login. And after creating the login, our own set of questions which we are going to ask from the respondents. And we asked different types of questions, and it's highly recommended to have better outcome of web-based surveys to have close-ended questions rather than open-ended questions. Because open-ended questions, we have our own share of difficulty in conducting the analysis of the responses from the respondent. So it's highly recommended to have, as far as possible, to have more and more close, so that multiple type questions or tick mark questions or with radio buttons. So we have all these facilities available in these web surveys. We have to make the choices and structure the questionnaire. After we have structured the questionnaire in the web-based surveys, we administer it to the various expected respondents by email. Further other modalities as well. And once we have administered it, now it's very important for us to have patience, because most of the responses, they do not come immediately. It takes some time and energy for them to respond back. So it's important for us to understand how we're going to collect the data. Now, it's important for us to understand we have to be slightly more proficient, more capable and in handling the data and analyzing them. So now there are three aspects when we talk about empirical research. We collect the primary data, and it is expected that the researchers should have strong knowledge of statistical tools and techniques. So it's important for us to understand, once we have collected the data, we need to understand what is the quality of data and which are the statistical tools which we are going to implement is dependent on the quality of, which is dependent on the research design we have. Now, apart from this, once we have collected data, it's important for the researchers to understand we have various spreadsheet softwares. We have various spreadsheet softwares like MS Excel, SPSS, social sciences, which is now branched on IBM. Talk about Systat, which is also a statistical software, is an online statistical tool. It's where we collect data mode, web mode. StatCrunch is a website and we can do the analysis on. Let's talk about MOS. Many statistical experts, they have their own limitations of doing analysis. There is cause and effect relationship. I'm sorry for the interruption. Most of the statistical softwares which we have is giving us the opportunity to do the data calculation, which is giving us the opportunity to do the data calculation. And we do data calculation with the help of these softwares. Now, let's talk about SPSS. Now, let us do an analysis of correlation. When we are conducting correlation, now it talks about the relationship between two variables. Now, if we are able to decide the relationship between two variables, we are not able to decide which one is the causal and which one is the causative variable. Yes. Hello. It's okay. I'm sorry for this interruption. So statistical softwares, at times, they are able to show the relationship between the variables, but they are not able to show the direction of relationship and the strength of relationship. Now, in regression, what we do is we look at the dependency. Now, there might be one variable there is one variable which is impacting another variable, or there are more variables impacting one variable. But we are not able to understand the strength of relationship. Which one is the causal and causative variable? Which one is the causal and variable? And then we talk about, this is the one which we talk about, the cause and effect relationship. So in MOS, we do have the facility to establish the relationship between one variable to the other variable. And not just that, it's also enables us to decide the direction of relationship and the strength of relationship. So that is the power of MOS as a software. Then we have SAS or MATLAB. MATLAB is primarily a software which helps us in doing more of mathematical calculations. Most of the others, they help us in doing statistical calculation, but MATLAB enables us in doing the mathematical calculations, and it helps us in doing mathematical modeling so that we are able to find the cause and effect relationship between variables, and we can establish mathematical models. So MATLAB is normally used mostly by engineers who have background in mathematics or people who have strong background in mathematics. So that is how we talk about MATLAB. So these are the statistical software which research and enabling the researcher to find the relationship between causal and causative factors and their impact on the variables. Now we'll talk about the various aspects. Now we'll talk about the methods. Now we are conducting various online focus group, online interview, online qualitative research, online text analysis, social network analysis. Now with the changing times and technologies, it's important to have various research findings. It's important to have various research findings. Now we do online focus group, we do online interview. Now when we are doing online interview of the customers or the respondents, it's important to understand the psychodynamic variables. And when we are doing online qualitative research, now in research which we talk about quantitative dimensions, we talk about qualitative dimensions. Now when we are using online mechanism and we are conducting online qualitative research, it's important for us to understand what are the various qualitative aspects and how it has been perceived by the customers or the respondents. So the online mechanism becomes very, very important for us to understand the feedback of the customers and the respondents. Now, we talk about online text analysis. Now, let us understand how online text analysis helps us to take the research to the next level. In US and in various other leading countries, the financial statement analysis till now, which we were doing, it was majorly focused at doing financial statement analysis. And we also talk about doing various ratio analysis of income and expenditure, and all those other aspects. Now, in the developed economies, the stock exchanges, as well as the various other stock exchanges and the state, they conduct online text analysis, which helps us in terms of understanding what has been the overall element of research, overall aspect of risk. Now, let me give you an example. The companies, they do text analysis and say how many times the word risk has come in the overall financial statement analysis in the descriptive portion. How many times? Financial risk, operational risk, various other types of risk. So if the risk component has been discussed in the text multiple times, so there are two aspects. One, the organization has done the risk analysis very sincere and diligently, or alternatively, there are two types of risk in that business. So by the text analysis of the word risk, the financial companies and other similar stakeholders are able to analyze whether there is more risk in the company or there is less risk in the company. Now we talk about the social network analysis. Now when we talk about social network analysis, in the subsequent slides, we'll show how we are doing social network analysis and how we are using Google Analytics to understand the trends how we are analyzing the trend of the customers, and accordingly we are able to take much better and professional decisions. Now in such cases, it's important for us to understand the analysis of the social network is very, very important. How the customers are responding on various social media, whether their responses has been positive or negative, are they happy with the services, and so on and so forth. So we'll take it in the forthcoming slides. Now, we are using online research in business to a phenomenal extent. We need to understand the satisfaction level of the customers. Are the customers satisfied or they are less satisfied? If they are more satisfied, they are going to recommend more and more customers. Now, when we go for new product research, we prepare a demo product and we offer it to the customers and we take their feedback. So if the customers are giving positive feedback, they like the design, they like the color, they like the features, it helps the organization to structure more and more innovative products and services. They also try and understand the brand loyalty of the customers. Are the customers loyal to the brand or not? So in such cases, it's important for the organization to understand what is the brand loyalty. Are the customers loyal to the brand or not? These days, it's very important for us to keep the employee engaged. So HR department is focusing more and more on employee engagement and employee satisfaction. Well, the key to success in modern organization is the satisfaction and delight level of the employees. So to engage the employees, it's very, very important for us to understand what keeps them engaged and what is motivating them to function. So the HR department has been focusing at conducting various surveys and various similar focus areas, so that they are able to keep the employees engaged, and they are able to focus on more and more HR interventions. Now we talk about the data analytics. It's important for all the stakeholders of the organization to look at the data analytics and analyze it so that it helps us in better strategic as well as operational decision making. Now we'll talk about Google Analytics in detail in one of the subsequent slides, but for the time being, I'll talk about how the Google Analytics is helping organizations. Now let us understand that on our website, we need to implement Google Analytics. So it's very simple. We log in Google Analytics by our Gmail ID, and Google Analytics gives a script which we have to paste in all the web pages of our website. And then Google Analytics gives us deep insights as to what has been the total number of visitors to the website, how long they have visited, whether they are first time visitors or they are repeat visitors, what are the pages they have left, what was their landing page and what was their outgoing page, and so on and so forth. So these are the various finer aspects which gives us deep insights about what are the most sought after pages, what is the bounce rate, that means how soon a person is coming to our website and leaving the website. So there are various finer aspects pertaining to technology which helps an organization to understand these are the research dimensions and variables which helps the organization to take better decisions. Now we'll talk about while doing the online research, we have to be very, very cautious, and we have to avoid giving open-ended questions to the respondents and the customers. And we need to give them some reasonable amount of time to the respondents and to the customers so that they are able to respond to our questions meticulously and sincerely and not in a hurried way, because at times when we ask them to submit quickly, they just do tick, tick, tick. They don't even read the questions, they select and submit it. So to get realistic and better quality of answers, it's important for us to give them sufficient amount of time, and we have to keep the survey precise. If we are keeping the survey very, very long, it becomes monotonous, and the customers and the respondents, they are less likely to give the correct answers. They just tick mark and move it forward. So it's important for us to have precise survey, give them reasonable time, have least amount of open-ended questions, max amount of close-ended questions. And we should structure the questionnaire or the survey in such a way that the language is simple and it is self-explanatory. So if the language is self-explanatory, it's easier for them to understand and answer them more logically. Now, when we talk about online research, it certainly has certain advantages. Now, when we talk about advantages, we can conduct online research all over the world. I was going through the research pertaining to COVID, and I will show you the live analysis of COVID data today. How technology enables us to conduct online research with the global data on a real-time basis. So it's important for us to understand. So we have access to global data, and then we have minimum investment of time and resources, and it helps us in centralized accumulation of facts and figures. And apart from that, it gives us a capable tool for collecting information from all over the world on a real-time basis. Now, I'll give you an example. Today, as a country, we have taken a decision of lockdown. You will be surprised to know online research has played a phenomenal role. And there are apps which are linked to the online database, and they give us online analytics so that we are able to do online research on a real-time basis. So in such cases, it really helps us in terms of getting the global data, minimizing least amount of time and resources, and then reaching to the conclusion. And then as a country, we have to take various such decisions. Now, when we talk about modes of online survey, well, we have evolved various technological means. We share the QR codes, and the respondents or the customers, they scan the QR codes by QR scanner, or we are able to send them electronic mails, emails to the customers and the respondents, or at times what we are doing, we are sending the survey link, as Modi ji has sent you the link for the Zoom session today. So we are sharing the survey links to the customers and the respondents. and that enables the customers. Or we have alternative mechanism to integrate the questionnaire in our website and share the link of our website. So there are possible modalities of integrating the online survey either through QR mode or through emails or through the survey links or through the integration of them in our website. So they help us in transmitting our online survey to the end stakeholder, to our customer, to our respondent. And that's how we are able to focus on making sure that our survey is able to reach to the end customer or to the end respondent in the shortest possible time. And once the respondents have submitted their data, at the back end, we have the collected data in proper dashboard format. At times it is in Excel format or in CSV format or in other formats in form of spreadsheets. So in such cases, we as researchers, we need to have the proficiency to ensure that we are able to download the data in the desired format. The format may be .xls, Excel sheet, or .csv, which we call it as comma separated value files, or it may be in Word files also sometimes. So we need to understand we download the data in the prescribed format and at times copy and paste them in the statistical software, or we import those files directly in the statistical software. So that is how we go about it. So once we have administered the online survey, the data is given, the responses are given by the respondents, and in such cases, we should be proficient in downloading the data and integrating it with our online software or importing the data with our standstill software on our laptops or on our systems. Now, this is what we have been talking about. Internationally, we have been talking about qualitative research, qualitative market research, and quantitative market research. Now, the major focus area these days. Now, let us understand how the differentiation between the two. In quantitative analysis, we are majorly concerned about the quantitative dimensions, and the statistical research findings are coming to us in form of digital numbers. So when we talk about digital numbers, at times the average may be very high, but it may not give the exact picture of the real situation. Now, let me give you an example in terms of a hotelier. A hotelier opened a new hotel, and in the first year, out of the 100 rooms, he had booked only 4 rooms in the whole year. In the next year, they booked 6 rooms, and they told that on year-to-year basis comparison, we have achieved 50% growth rate. So if we look at this is a misleading information. So at times when we are doing quantitative analysis, we may not be able to get the desired direction and the desired outcome of the quantitative research findings. So in such cases, it is important for us to do quantitative research findings as well, wherein the customers are giving the qualitative feedback. It's important for us to take the qualitative feedback of the customers about the products and services of the organization. So in such cases, when we look at the research findings, both the research findings, quantitative research findings, as well as qualitative research findings, it helps us in reaching a better and more informed decision about the products, about the services, as well as about the research problem at hand. So it's important for us to have an optimum integration of quantitative research as well as qualitative research. And we have various structured software doing qualitative research, which helps us in terms of calculating the total number of, suppose a person gives a response about a bank, and the number of times the word risk has been used is phenomenally high. So it's important for the bank to understand the customer is finding it very risky to invest in the various schemes of the bank. So we are supposed to understand what are the various aspects. So at times there are shades of gray between white and black. So the banks and the financial institutions have to take various decisions about their products and services. So it's important to have a balanced view after conducting quantitative research as well as qualitative research, and then take an integrated decision. So let's look at it, how we are doing the quantitative data collection. Now, in terms of quantitative data collection, we are using online web surveys, or we are also doing face-to-face surveys, or we are doing telephonic surveys, or we are doing surveys by mail, sometimes by hard copies as well, or through a central location intercept. Or at times what we do is we talk about the various qualitative data collection tools. Now, we have various online forums wherein the people give their feedbacks about their products, about the products and services. We have various online communities, and these online communities, they talk about, they give their feedback, their responses, their comments. So we have various online communities giving comments about the products and services. So we use the data collection tool, the qualitative data collection tool. Now, there are certain web surveys in the chat mode. So there is a person doing chat with the customer, with the respondent, and in the chat mode, we are getting various responses. So we are collecting qualitative data by chats, by various groups, by triads and dyads, and at times we are conducting in-depth interviews. We are conducting in-depth interviews of the respondents or the customers. So we are able to collect the qualitative data, and sometimes we look forward to have an optimum blend. Now, we have an optimum blend of qualitative data analysis and quantitative data analysis. So we call it as a custom hybrid of qualitative data as well as quantitative data. So that gives us an opportunity to integrate between the various options of qualitative data and quantitative data analysis. So it's important for us to understand what would be the optimal blend of quantitative data analysis and qualitative data analysis when we are planning to solve a particular research problem. And it is important for us to understand that if we are able to have the right combination of quantitative and qualitative data, the outcomes of research would be definitely much better, more effective, and more acceptable. So that's how we go about it. Now, further we talk about, we'll also talk about, now, sometimes we need to know what actually a research problem is and how do we go about it. So we'll go back to the question of defining a research problem. Knowing a research problem, defining a research problem. So it's important for us to understand that research problem, we are planning to find a solution or an answer to any question which we have. So the question may be of various types, the problem may be of various types. So it might be a real problem, or it might be a business problem of the organization, or at times it may be a situation wherein the researcher is able to find the research problem or to perceive the research problem and find a solution. So let us understand. The corporate houses want to know what are the various challenges they are going to face in their products and services, and how they can suggest the interventions. What shall be the interventions so that those problems and challenges get addressed? Now, there are two aspects. Either we do not have any answer, we are trying to find one answer. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is we have some findings, we want a better finding. So it's like most of the Indian research, they are towards extension of an existing research. There are some research findings already there with some questions unanswered. We try and extend that research. So that is about strengthening the research findings. That's about strengthening the research findings. Now, at times, the main objective of conducting research is to bridge the knowledge gap. We are at a certain knowledge level and we expect our knowledge level to be on a higher side, and we want to bridge the gap. So in this scenario, we have to bridge the knowledge gap to solve the problems. So now the research is aimed at creating knowledge. The research is aimed at creating by the area of we'll talk about the same. We'll talk about the same in terms of now we were talking about the research problem. We were talking about the research problem and how we should be defining the research problem. Now, the first dimension is to find the broad area of the research problem. The broad area of the research problem wherein we have to focus on doing comprehensive, we need to focus on having comprehensive literature survey. We need to focus on having comprehensive literature survey, and thereafter we do the focused literature review. We do the focused literature review. It's coming now? No. Okay, just a moment. We talk about doing, initially we do comprehensive literature survey, then we talk about doing a focused literature survey, and then we have to talk about doing the general research. My apologies. My apologies for this interruption. Yes. Just a moment. So we were talking about one moment, please. 1 moment. I think the sharing aspect has. Just a minute, sir. Just a minute. It is creating some issues. 1 moment, please. My apologies. We were talking about doing the online research till the time I'm able to connect, share the screen. Just it will take. Yes, I think it should come now. बंद कर दूं? Okay, I think I'm here now. Okay, fine enough. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yes, it's shared now. So we were talking about the research problem, and we were supposed to conduct comprehensive literature review, followed by focus literature review, and thereafter we focus on conducting general research and formulating the concept, and then we define the specific problem statement. So now, once we have defined the problem statement, it's important for us to understand what are the various components of the research problem, what are the various characteristics, the steps to formulate, and how do we actually reach to the statement. So once we are able to formulate the research problem and able to define it in the right, thereafter we are able to focus at leveraging the online research tools and techniques, to collect the data and to focus on doing the data analysis and ultimately reaching to the findings and giving our interpretations so that final recommendations can be given by the researcher. So this has been a very, very important process. The focus on formulation is very important. We define the statement such a way that it is unambiguous and very, very explicit and clear to the respondent and to the customer. It should be very, very clear and unambiguous to the respondent. Now let us understand that how we have to focus on when we are talking about how to formulate a research problem. We need to understand how important has been the topic. We need to understand the importance of the topic in the research proposal, and thereafter we position the problem in the appropriate context. Now when we talk about positioning the problem in an appropriate context, it's important to understand what has been the emphasis and the focus of the previous researchers. What has been the focus and emphasis of the previous researchers, and accordingly we have to structure and define our problems in such a way that our problem is easily understood by the customers or the respondents without them having any energy or time to invest. So they should be able to understand the research problem and they should be able to respond to the question in the shortest possible time without much of time and energy. Now, thereafter, we have to provide a framework to analyze and report results. Now, when we prepare a framework to analyze and report results, this is the very important dimension, and I'll today show you how using Microsoft Power Business Intelligence, how we will be able to analyze the various research data in solving the research problems. So this is something, now these are the characteristics which we talk about. Very, very important for us to understand that we have to focus on covering the essential needs or issues. Now, Government of India, Ministry of HRD, and as well as UGC, now they have been talking about the research statement, research problem should be socially relevant and it should have its impact. The research should be done in such a way that the research findings are usable by the end users or by the society, and it should have societal impact. So the topic of the research or the research problem, it should cover essential needs or issues or research problems. So it's very, very important for us. Now, when we talk about, so when we are defining it in our software, wherein we are taking the online survey, it's very important for us. We need to define the problem in such a way that it's logical and clear to the customer. The research has to be based on actual facts and evidence. And when I'm talking about actual facts and evidence, in one of the subsequent slides, I'll be talking about using the real-time data of COVID-19, how the countries have been able to leverage the real-time data and how they are doing interventions in managing the administrative affairs of the country and the respective states. So it's important. So actual facts and evidence. Then we talk about The research problem should be able to generate and encourage the research questions. So the problem should be such that it is automatically generating the questions, and those questions are to be answered by the respondents, and it should be fitting our budget and time frame. We cannot decide to have a very long time frame and humongous amount of money to conduct a research. So there should be sufficient data to collect and to be obtained. And there are two aspects. One, the research problem is absolutely new, or there was a research finding earlier and we are trying to find a better result this time. So we have to understand that our research problem should be specific, measurable. It should be specific, measurable, and it should be able to help us in defining the problem and in solving the problem. So we'll go to the next slide and we'll talk about the research proposal flow chart. Now, when we are preparing the research proposal flow chart, it's something like we have to ask about the research question. What is the research problem? Why are we doing this research? And how are we going to do this research? So these are three very important questions. What is the research problem? And why are we going to do this research? And how are we going to do this research? So once we have decided these three aspects, then we find out various available literature sources in form of books, journals, online journals, offline, e-journals, and we do the literature review so that we are able to find what has been the existing research findings on this particular topic, what is the research currently available which is already done, and then we talk about what are the various theoretical approaches, which have been currently used in terms of the research problem at hand. And we will be able, in such cases, we'll be able to handle the research problem in a much better way. Now we talk about the research methodology. What has been the research design? What is likely to be the research procedure? What is the kind of data we are going to handle? What shall be the collection procedure? Online, offline, blend, qualitative data, quantitative data, blend of the two, and so on. What will be the process of selection? What will be the sampling mechanism? Whether there are human subjects or not? What has been the ethics statement? What are the various cost and funding aspects of the methodology, and so on and so forth. And then we go on to the preliminary data in terms of evidence of importance, the methodology dimensions, and we also talk about the preliminary findings with the preliminary data. Now, when we go for collecting the preliminary data, we do certain validation, and we normally use a test called Cronbach's alpha, which helps us in analyzing the validity of the questionnaire, which is a very important statistical tool. And then we have certain important categories and relationships which we are able to find among the preliminary data, and so that we are either planning to have a model, or we find causal and causative variables, we want to find the relationship, and so on and so forth. And then we also have to write our limitation statements, because every research problem has certain limitations, which should be explicitly written that this research has been done under the following limitations. And last but not the least, we write our conclusions about the research. So this is important for us to understand these dimensions before we proceed further. And now we'll talk about the other aspects. This is something which is very important. I found two very important readings which I thought I'll share with my audience. There's one which is Advancing Research Methods with New Technologies. This has been authored by Natalie Sapleton from Manchester Metropolitan University, UK. 30 Essential Skills for Qualitative Researcher and Principles of Statistical Data Handling. There are plethora of books in research methodology, but these are some books which can definitely add value to us in terms of, while we are trying to leverage more of the technological dimensions. Now, it's important for us to understand, ultimately in academics, we are part of university system in higher education. We want to maximize the effectiveness. We want to maximize the effectiveness of the institution. and we want to maximize the effectiveness of the teaching, learning, and assessment processes. And for this purpose, internationally, there is a culture of establishing, which we call it as IRU, Institutional Research Unit, or Department of Institutional Research. So international and foreign universities of developed economies, we have a culture of analyzing institutional data. So I'm sure most of us, we have been talking about conducting research with empirical data, with primary data and secondary data. But in higher education, we talk about conducting institutional research. And we need to understand these are the various aspects. What is the focus of institutional research? We identify the information needs. The university has multiple data within itself, and which is needed many a times. Now, the university wants to excel in academic delivery. So once we plan to excel in the process of academic delivery, we have to identify which are the data tools which we are going to analyze. We have to conduct research with the available data within the given policies and procedures of the university. And the institutional research department, it anticipates the questions of various departments. Suppose there is a school, let's say School of Engineering, it is asking, tell me what has been the completion rate of my students in the last 5 years. Now, completion rate is a metric wherein a student who has been able to complete the course within the stipulated period of time. So what percentage of students of School of Engineering have been able to complete? So there are a lot of similar research problems which are being addressed by the researcher. So now institutional research unit talks about taking the questions of the departments and handle the data which is available with the university, and then give the answers to the various departments in very, very effective and in efficient manner. Now, what we do is we collect, analyze, and interpret and report the information. Now, the data of the university. Now, let us understand. Now, if in my university, suppose we have 10,000 students. So what has been the demographics of these 10,000 students? What is the ratio of boys and girls? Which are the states which are sending more students to us? What has been their ethnic background? What has been their academic background? So these data helps us in planning our academic processes in a much better way. So there are applied research methods which helps and which is used by the department. So institutional research in India, it is yet to catch up. Very soon, we are likely to make it more popular in India as well, so that we are able to use the institutional data in achieving academic excellence, in achieving research excellence, in achieving publication excellence, and so on and so forth. So the data which is given, the research findings given by institutional research is helping the organization in better and efficient planning and evaluation of their program. Well, most of the foreign universities, they conduct program evaluation every year. How successful their program has been implemented, and what are the various shortfalls which were there in the process of implementation of the program. Now, it also helps us in the process of making data compliance to the various regulatory bodies. So the institutional research department is the department which is able to collect the data from all the schools and departments and to collect them and submit the same to the various regulatory bodies and to ensure compliance, data related compliances. They also work on doing the data cleaning, data pruning, and presenting the data in the format which is required by various regulatory bodies in India and abroad, so that the data is compliant and accessible and understandable by the various databases as well as by the various regulators in India and abroad. So it's important for us. Now, it's important this research unit works on training the internal users within the organization. What should be the format in which they should populate the databases of the university? They educate the information producers within the organization so that the data can be accumulated, analyzed, and presented to the end users. So it's important to do internal training of all the users who are using the database and who are populating the database. So it includes training and coaching of the relevant users. So institutional research department is a very important department which focuses on collecting the data in the right format, analyzing it, conducting research, and giving the research findings to the end users within the organization as well as outside the organization. So it's important for us to understand, for us as academicians, we need to focus on institutional effectiveness. And there are a lot of softwares. One of the best softwares which I came across was Tableau. Tableau is one software which helps us in doing institutional effectiveness. And let's understand, we do the institutional research for reporting to internal stakeholders and external stakeholders to maximize the retention of students and faculty members within the organization. The data analyzed helps us in doing evidence-based strategic planning. Internationally, there is a culture of evidence-based strategic planning. In India, the culture of evidence-based strategic planning is yet to pick up. But if we are able to focus on leveraging data by the technological means, conducting research using softwares, we will be able to do evidence-based strategic planning. It also helps us in doing program review, how successful we have been in terms of conducting the program and whether or not all the program learning outcomes have been achieved by all the students attending that particular program. Then we talk about the assessment mechanism. Was our assessment good enough to cater to the requirements of the students? Was it matching the level and intensity of the course and the program? Was the questions unambiguous? Were the questions having the required level of difficulty index? So we calculate difficulty index. We also calculate various statistical analysis, like one is called point biserial coefficient. Internationally, in American and European and British universities, we calculate the point biserial coefficient. That's a statistical tool to analyze the questions, how difficult or easy the question has been. So we have to understand how to analyze the questions, and now they analyze every question of the assessment and evaluation process. We talk about understanding how many questions. Suppose question number 1, this was attempted by 80% students and only 50% of them could answer it correctly. So we understand and analyze what has been the difficulty level of a particular question and whether our assessment has been prudent or not. So it's very important for us to understand. Now we'll see how universities, they report about their institutional effectiveness on their website. We talk about a university, MSU, Texas. This is the Institutional Research Unit webpage of MSU, Texas. They have given the report of their entire university of 5 years, wherein we can select the variable and get the data on a real-time basis. And I'll talk about how they have been able to do it. So we will come to this slide number 20 back again. So this is one I'll show you here. Now this is the website, and I'll show you with this website. Now, if we want to know what has been the 5 years data in terms of gender, what has been the number of females which are studying there in the last 5 years, we can we can put a tick mark on the variable females, and we can get the data pertaining to females. Now, if I select the data pertaining to males, all the data I'm getting on a real-time basis. So this is a dynamic reporting mechanism on our website. We just select the variables. Now, if we select all of them, we get the entire data of 5 years reported on the website. So here is an opportunity for us to understand. We can do data reporting on dynamic basis, wherein we give the user to opt. If he wants the answer of one variable, he has to opt one variable. If he wants to opt for 2 variables, he can opt for 2 variables. He wants to opt for all variables, he can opt for all variables. So this is a dynamic reporting mechanism on our website about the overall effectiveness of the university. So this trend is gradually likely to percolate down to our Indian universities, which are now in the race with the global universities, and they wish to compete with the global universities and achieve benchmarks of excellence at the global level. So this is what we were talking about. Now, so I have taken the screenshot here, but I showed you by going on the website how we are able to get the dynamic reporting. Now, let us understand the research, institutional research, they have a particular evaluation model. By using this software, they are able to do this. And let us look at it slightly differently. Now, we have to have the duration specification. The duration is 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 4 year, 5 year. So we can do longitudinal analysis of the data. So that gives us an opportunity to do institutional research. Now, we also talk about quality assessment indicators. Now, internationally, there is a culture of enhancing the quality, and there are every university has a dedicated center for quality enhancement, which focuses on understanding the data and give recommendations to the university how to improve the quality of various dimensions within the university. So now level 2, we talk about the quality assessment indicators. We talk about the impact factor of the journals in which the article has been published. We talk about the article influence score. We talk about the citations per paper. We talk about publications in index journal. So this is the level 2 which we talk about. Then at level 3, we talk about the trend indicators. What has been the number of publications, what has been the study design, what have been the subjects of research, and so on. Now, in level 4, we talk about data extraction, wherein we talk about inclusion and exclusion criteria. What have been the criteria for including a particular variable, and what has been the criteria for excluding a particular variable? What are the various search engines which we have taken into consideration, and how has the data been extracted by institutions and by the author? So all of them play a very important role at level 4. And finally, last but not the least, normally we talk about descriptive statistics. So when we talk about descriptive statistics, we talk about mean, mode, median, standard deviation, and there are various other tools of descriptive statistics as well. So we do the statistical analysis, and we do descriptive statistics. We do trend analysis by various statistical tests. So we try to see what are the various trends of the data so that we are able to take various decisions. And what are the determinants of research impact by regression analysis? We do simple regression, we do multiple regression, and at times after doing multiple regression, we also go for doing structural equation modeling by MOS. In structural equation modeling, we have the advantage of conducting research wherein the causal and causative factors, we are able to find the relationship between the two variables as well as the strength between the two variables. So that's very, very important. So this is the institutional research evaluation model. So a short while ago, I was showing how MSU Texas University has showed its institutional research findings, the data on its website on a dynamic basis. Now, we'll talk about the other aspects now. Now, we are going to talk about, let's look at the most interesting aspects, which we talk about the dashboards, which we talk about the dashboards. Now, we talk about Power BI dashboards. Now, Power BI dashboard is a mechanism which is given to us by Microsoft, and it is an amazing tool for the researchers to get a dashboard on the data which we have collected or data on a real-time basis. So, well, internationally, now the trend of research is moving towards doing research with online data. So the data is coming on a real-time basis. We are applying the tools and techniques, and our dashboard is giving the results, and we are able to interpret the data and make the required interventions in the problems of our real life. So that is very, very important for us to understand. Now, let us get going on to it. So this is a Power BI dashboard which helps us in terms of giving us various bar charts, pie charts, map charts, and various other types of charts. And it gives such a brilliant view to us to see the analysis of data on a real-time basis. Now, in such situations, it's important for us to understand that how a researcher can link the data on a real-time basis and get to see the data analysis on the Power BI dashboards. So we will show you live today one of them so that we are able to see the live data of COVID. We will show you the live COVID data and how we can see the analysis on a real-time basis. So the Power BI intends for business intelligence. Now, when we talk about business intelligence, the focus is to talk about the various data which is coming to the organization. It is giving us intelligent insights for us to take various decisions about the real world problems. Now, in such situation, let us see how this is going to help. Now, from this, let us look at this pie chart. We get a clear indication that the two aspects, they are covering the major areas, the one in blue and the one in purple. Now, here we look at the purple indicators are less than the blue indicators. We can see that the variables, if these variables, they are scattered all over the globe. So that means if we are looking at our customer base, we can see the intensity of our customer base all over the world. Now, if you look at these bar charts, so it talks about how the bar chart is subdivided. So we can see the picture of the respective data. Now, I was doing research on what has been the respective users of various social media, and we could see that Facebook and WhatsApp together have taken a quantum leap in terms of the market share of usage in the social media market space. So such real-time data and the real-time dashboard help us understand the exact scenario of the problem, and they enable us to take better decisions and powerful decisions. And they also help us in evidence-based strategic planning. Evidence-based strategic planning means we do have real-time evidence from different sources, and we are able to leverage them while doing the strategic planning. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, these are very, very effective and informative dashboards which talk about what has been, how the data has been varying. Now, whether there has been positive growth, negative growth, consistent growth, mathematical growth, arithmetic growth, geometric growth, harmonic growth. So for us as researchers, it's important and heartening to see the various changes in the various statistical dimensions on a real-time basis. So it helps the researchers on it. And more importantly, let's see, the variables are quantified in numbers. Let's see, 113 million users. Now, gross profit per year. Let's look at, I'll enlarge it to some extent so that it's easier for us to have a better view of it. Now, let's look at this. It says gross profits versus prior year. This is the incremental profit, net profit. So this talks about a real-time dashboard. The data is coming. Now, everyday data gets accumulated, and the pleasure of having a real-time data analysis and a real-time dashboard is very different for a researcher. And now we talk about the data visualizations. We'll talk about how the data gets visualized. Now, these are the various types of data visualizations which we have. Now, let's look at the data visualizations. Now, if a company is dealing in multiple products and multiple services. So let's look at sales amount by brand name. A company has multiple products in multiple brands. Now we want to see what has been the sales amount. So the sales amount volume is coming, the data visualization is coming. Which brand is selling more, which brand is selling less. So it also helps us in analyzing the advertising effectiveness. Sometimes the brand is able to sell more when we are bringing a change in the advertising strategy. So we are able to find a real-time impact of change in advertising strategy on the change in sales. So this is how the data visualizations are visible on our dashboard. Now, units by product and sales size. Now, if there are small in terms of the sale size as well as the product, which one is selling more, which one is selling less, what is the ticket size of the sales. So data visualizations are coming to us in different forms. Now we also look at the other kinds of data visualizations, wherein we are able to see that how the real-time data, what are the various factors which are influencing the data, to what extent they are influencing, and how the numbers are changing, so that we are able to take real-time decision. So this research which we are talking about is aimed at doing business research, which is being done by the businessmen on a real-time basis. So that's very, very important for us to understand. So we'll gradually now take this forward in terms of the data visualization. So if we will show you live today how we can use the powered business intelligence of Microsoft. Well, for 60 days, it is usable free of cost. So once we use it for 60 days, probably we look at the overall benefits, how we are able to gather the data, and how we are able to use it for our research purposes and so on. Now let's look at another visualization. Now this talks about now this has been social media analytics. Social media analytics talks about that if there are X number of tweets, what has been the total number of tweets which have come through the Windows phone, which has come through Bing, which has come through Office, which has come through other portals or through the SQL server. So now internationally, the organizations, they conduct various kinds of statistical analysis pertaining to social media. In one of my earlier slides, I talked about social media analytics. Now, we are analyzing the total number of tweets, from which network they are coming, from which browser they are coming, from which country they are coming, and what has been the top hashtags, which hashtag is trending more, and so on and so forth. So social media analytics and social media research is catching up at an exponential rate internationally. And it's important for us to use the real-time data of various social media platforms and conduct the analysis and take better decisions. Well, just to give you a feedback, our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, he took social media analytics of the various cabinet ministers as one of the metrics of analyzing their overall performance and efficiency, which goes a long, long way. So internationally, there's a culture of taking the social media analytics and analysis of social media variables as one of the performance metrics. So let's look at it slightly closely as to what are the various analysis which we are doing. Now, it talks about the search query, what has been the respective source. Now, we also analyze the data, what has been the timing of the tweets. Are there more tweets in the morning and in the evening than in the afternoon? What are the types of the tweets? The tweets are positive, negative, neutral. So it's important for us to understand. And which are the maximum tweeters? Now, people who are, we have to identify who are the people who are vehemently writing negative. And sometimes we have to address their concerns. At times, we also have to take legal action against them. So such research analysis is very, very important for business researchers on a real-time basis by leveraging the real-time statistical tools and techniques. Now, if we look at this one, you can say it talks about early morning tweets, afternoon tweets, and evening tweets. So we analyze the social media timings. What are the various timings on which these tweets are happening? And then we also talk about, this is the graph which looks at it, that most of the tweets are centralized around morning and afternoon. So that's important timing when which our social media team should be more active to respond to the positive or negative comments. Then we talk about the top mentions. Where are the top mentions happening? So top mentions are happening through the Windows phone or through the Bing through the Bing portal. So now it's important for us. Now let's look at the databases and the various hashtags which we talk about. Now hashtag, we analyze which is the hashtag which is trending more, and we try and focus on analyzing them more sincerely than others. So this has been done by Power Pivot for Excel. So there are various tools and techniques by Microsoft in terms of the facilities. So this is being done by Power Pivot for Excel. So this is an extra add-in which we can use it in Excel and get more and more findings. So now we'll talk about the other aspects. This is the most important aspect I wanted to share today, is how to use Microsoft Power BI, how we can share big insights for even bigger impact. If we are doing a good work and we show it to the larger audience, the good work becomes great. Suppose if we are reaching it to 5 million customers and we show them that, look, 5 million customers are using our products and services happily, we can reach from 5 million to 50 million in no time. So it's important for us to understand how to share big insights for even bigger impact by the business houses, by the politicians, by the researchers, by the trade houses, by leveraging Microsoft Power BI. BI stands for business intelligence. Now, when we talk about business intelligence, I will straight away take it to the portal which is open right now here. Now, I have taken two portals here. One moment, please. So we'll talk about, so we were talking about Microsoft Power BI, and now we will be showing you the live function of how BI works. Now this is COVID-19 data. The whole world is looking at COVID-19 data. This shows COVID-19 by Rana Singh under Power BI. And let us look at the live. I thought, let me show you live with the real-time data so that we can see how the real-time data is able to. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry for this interruption. So this is, will show you the real-time performance of the COVID data. And let's look at this. Let us have a look at it. So this is the COVID data. We'll have a look at it. See, I think the screen is visible, and this is the live data of COVID-19, and we can see that India is currently trending at rank You can see the live data using Power BI of the global spread of COVID on a real-time basis. So this is the power of, having access to the global. The loading report page is loading right now. You can see India's, I'm sure you are able to see the real-time data of COVID. And this is how all the countries of the world are able to take better decisions pertaining to COVID with respect to the various lockdown which we are. Yes. Okay, okay. Okay, just to give you a real-time feedback, the companies are the countries. We can get the real-time data of various countries and of our own country, and on a daily basis. So this is helping us in terms of, you can look at United Kingdom's data, the number of cases increasing every day and the graph. So this helps us in terms of clicking on the respective countries, and we are able to get the outcomes of the. I'm sure you can have a look at the respective data. Yes, please. Okay, okay, fine. Thanks. Okay, so I'll share with you the screen again. I think this is the screen which I wanted to share. Okay. So this is the screen which I wanted to share with all of you. You can look at the data of India, the daily new cases, as well as of different countries. United Kingdom, you can see the cumulative confirmed cases increasing at an exponential rate. Total confirmation till today is going at an exponential rate. Cumulative confirmation as well as cumulative deaths, the death rate top 5. So the daily new cases coming up is now fluctuating. So it has now peaked up and it's now looking at. So these data are helping us to get a better view of the global research problems on a real-time basis. So the most advantageous aspect, real-time data, conduct real-time research and make the real-time recommendations. So that's very, very important for us to understand how we are looking at it. Look at the cases of India. We have 42,505 confirmed cases, daily confirmation of 2806, 1391 total deaths with death percentage of 3.3, and the estimated active cases that's going on increasing. Let's look at United States. United States is having the daily new cases is gradually fluctuating now and it has picked up. And US is having a death rate of 5.8% with 67,682 people. So this is the power of Power BI, and we need to understand the power of Power BI and accordingly understand what can be. Let's look at Canada. The total number of deaths, the percentage is 6.3%. It's almost double than India. So this is the power of Power BI coming from Microsoft. We are able to get the real-time data coming from the various sources of the world. Now this is coming from WHO and various other authentic sources. So analyzing the data on a real-time basis of different countries, making a comparative reference frame and analyzing. Now this is also showing that today India is on almost 7th rank in the world in terms of the overall number of various parameters pertaining to COVID. So now this is one. I'll now come back. I'll just come back to the other aspect. So my point which I wanted to drive is that the technological dimensions are adding new aspects of emphasis areas in the aspect of research. And we as researchers, we need to focus on using it so that we are able to give much better findings in much shorter span of time and with better degree of efficiency and effectiveness. We'll now go to the other aspect. Now we'll now share this screen. We'll once again share another screen so that we will talk about the other aspect. So this is how Microsoft Power BI is able to enable the researcher in a much better way. Now we'll talk about the Power BI. We talk about GA, that is called Google Analytics. Google Analytics is by another app within Power BI, which helps us in terms of analyzing the statistics of the people visiting our website on a real-time basis. So we'll go once again, we'll go back to, so we'll understand what Google Analytics by Kerbal does it. It does the analysis of the various search terms. What was the search term being used by a user on Google which brought him or her to our website? What are the number of unique searches for a search term? Suppose MBA admission is one search term and this has been searched 200 times in a particular day. So that's very, very important. Now, started their search here. So we talk about the users where they started searching on your site. So from which point they have started searching, where did they land after search? They were searching for a keyword MBA admission and they landed up at online admission form. So that's very important where the user landed up. Search result pages viewed. How many search results pages? Suppose he was searching for MBA admission and there were 20 results, but how many results were viewed by the user? He used only 5 pages. Search refinements. This talks about how the user refined the search. Sometimes he says MBA admission. Later on, maybe he used MBA admission application form or MBA admission fees structure. So how the user has been doing the search refinements. Now, it also helps us in analyzing the average time spent on the site. Average time spent on the website. The user has spent 3 minutes, 30 seconds or 4 minutes, 40 seconds. So it helps us in understanding if the user has spent more time, that means he has high level of interest in the products and services of the organization. Average view pages viewed after search. So when the user did the searching, what has been the average pages accessed by the users. So in that case, this gives us a very important picture. Now we'll come back to the previous slide. We'll now show you live how Google Analytics gives us real-time insight. And this is what I have been focusing on, emphasizing the technological dimensions in research. When we talk about technological dimensions, we will now talk about how Google Analytics has been able to give us deep insights in terms of the real-time data. Okay, so this is Google. I'll show you once again. I'll share my screen so that this is my screen. I'm sharing it right away to all of you. Now this is Google Analytics Crubal within Power BI. Power BI is a software we have logged in. Now within this software, we have implemented the Crubal app for Google Analytics. Now when we go for Google Analytics by Crubal, let us look at what the various types of statistics is going to give it to us. Now let's understand this is a real-time data. On which of the days the number of users are higher. So on Monday there was less number of users, Tuesday more, on a Sunday there has been least number of users. Then we do the time analysis. So what time of the day, during which timings there have been more users. So if we look at it, afternoon time the users have been maximum, evening time relatively less, morning the least, and early morning, not at all. So it helps us in terms of understanding. Now, where do our users come from? Let's look at on the right hand side the map. So it helps now for a university, it talks about, okay, there are five users from USA. There are 5 users from USA. There are other users from Russia. So it helps us what has been the user access from different country, and what has been the repeat performance. How many of them are coming again? How many of them are coming again? So on a particular date, there are 181 new users and 19 returning users. So these are statistical facts and figures which are very important for us to understand and take decisions in the real world of business as well as in higher educational institution. So now we'll talk about acquisition, how it helps us in terms of acquisition. Where does the traffic come from? Where does the traffic come from? So are we getting traffic which is organic or paid? So if we are advertising on Google and we are getting the traffic, so that's a paid traffic. But if they are searching on Google and they are coming to our website, this is organic traffic. So we have almost 61% of traffic coming from the organic source and another 40% from the paid source. So it's a metric of efficiency of an organization. If we have more visitors coming from organic sources, it is a better indication towards the organization. More and more customers are visiting the organization through the organic route. Now, how does the traffic source change over time? Now, this is talking about over a period after when we implement a new advertising strategy, we can see all of a sudden there has been 148 new users who came to our website. So we want to look at the effectiveness of an advertising strategy. So we can see on a real-time basis, we gave the website in our advertisement and how many users accessed our website on that particular day. So it helps us in understanding and analyzing the effectiveness of the advertising strategy and various other aspects. Now, this talks about which websites are sending you traffic. There are certain people who are hitting on direct URL of the organization or coming through Google, coming through other sources. So this talks about, it gives the percentage, and it also gives us from which country they are giving. At times, they're also giving us the demographics. What has been the age group of the users? So there must be some age groups for higher educational institutions. Major users are coming from the young generation, maybe from 15, 16 to 26. And there are parents also using it. So it's very important. Now, it's important for us to understand what has been, how many pages have been viewed, and so on and so forth. So these are the various aspects which we consider. So the apps under Power BI, they give us phenomenal indications about the performance of the website, about our products and services, about the feedback of our customers, and so on. Let us look at the real-time page load summary. Sometimes there are people who put so much of content and graphics on the website that the page loading time becomes very, very high. So it's important for us to understand what has been the page loading time, 9.67 seconds. So if the page loading time is high, sometimes people leave, they don't visit the website very honestly. So they go away immediately. It's important for us to understand. Then page load by device. Sometimes, you know, the loading time is different. On mobile, it's taking 15 seconds, whereas on tablets, 15.76, whereas on the desktop, it's taking only 9.31 seconds. So it's important for us to optimize the loading time of our website. So ultimately, if we are using the research in business, this is a real-time research problem. If the website is not opening quickly, the customers tend to move away. So we need to understand the real-time data. The loading time is 9 seconds on desktop, 15.22 seconds on mobile, and 15.76 seconds. So normally at times it happens because of the mobile data is slightly slower in nature. So because of that reason, it happens sometimes. So that's one of the reasons. So these were the two major apps under Power BI. I showed you one was about the COVID data coming on real-time basis, which we could do analysis. This was about Google Analytics app, which we can do the real-time analysis of the number of users coming on our website. So I thought, let me take two business problems and show you how we can have a technological perspective of doing business related research on an online basis and prepare our research findings in a better way so that we are able to cater to our research problems and we are able to solve them in a meaningful, effective, and efficient manner. So now we'll go back to our previous slide. So this is what we were talking about. And now this was Power BI. GA stands for Google Analytics by Kerbal. And let's look at the various finer aspects of Microsoft Business Intelligence. Let's look at it in terms of I'm sorry, I'll just show you the respective slide. This is the slide I was talking about. Yes, this one, wherein let us understand the finer aspects. Now we'll go to the business intelligence. Now there are data storage mechanisms in Microsoft Business Intelligence. The data ingestion is happening through Azure Event Hubs, through SQL Server Database Engine, through Azure Blob Storage, through Azure Cosmos Database, through Azure Data Lake Storage, as well as through Azure Synapse Analytics. So this is how the data ingestion and data storage is happening. Now, data integration and data management. It's very, very important for us to understand how the data integration and data management is happening by leveraging SQL Server and Azure Integration Services, Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Catalog, Master Data Services, Data Quality Services. This has been respectively, comparatively recent in origin. It came back way back in around 2013-14, the data quality services. So it enables us in improving the data quality which we have. Now we talk about the data processing. And when we talk about data processing, we use SQL Server. We have the analysis services of SQL. And we also have Azure. In Azure, we have Azure Databricks, Azure Analysis Services, Analysis Data Explorer, Azure Stream Analysis, Azure HD Insight, as well as Azure Data Lake Analytics. So they help us in doing the data processing so that we are able to have well-processed data and we can understand the data findings and do our interpretation. And last but not the least, this is very important for us to do data reporting on a real-time basis. Now, here comes Power BI. I showed you the institutional research unit of one of the universities from US. That reporting was done using Power BI, wherein the users have the option to select the various variables and get the report accordingly. So the reporting has been done by using Power BI, and that has been such marvelous reporting mechanism. You can also use Excel by using various add-in facilities. We have SQL Server reporting services. We have Azure Data Share. We also have Azure Machine Learning Service. We also have the Machine Learning Studio. And last but not the least, we have the R server for HD Insight. So we have multiple options of getting data ingestion, data storage, data integration, data management, data processing, as well as data reporting. So if we are able to acquire knowledge, skills, and competencies in the process of doing online research by leveraging the various functions and features of the various analytical, statistical, mathematical, reporting, database softwares which we have available with us, we will be able to have meaningful research as well as meaningful research finding, and we can give milestone recommendations and interventions to the real-time business problems. So that's something which is very, very important for us to understand. So Microsoft apps, there are series of apps which we can go and install there. And apart from this, when we are installing it, we have the option. And let me tell you, this is free to access for the academicians for the first 60 days. So it is very easy for you to access. We don't have to pay anything. We just go, log in, and we start using it. So these are the two softwares which we talked about. We have options to install various Power BI apps. I had installed two today just for showing the demo purpose. One was Google Analytics by Krubel, and then the other one was Google Analytics, as well as the other one was COVID-19, the real-time data of the whole world, to show you how we can take decisions pertaining to the country vis-a-vis the rest of the world. So we can get a comparative reference frame. India is still at 7th rank, having a 3.3% of death rate vis-a-vis Canada, which is having more than 6% of death rate. So that talks about our decisions pertaining to lockdown have proved to be more effective in terms of containing the death rate to a lower level. So that is something which is very, very important for us to understand. And then this is something which is an app. This is analyze COVID-19 cases. This is the data. The app name is called Data Chant. So we can this is all free of cost. So nothing to bother. Download it, enjoy it, learn it, and relish it. So that's the power of enjoying the technological perspective today. And so this is something which was in the slide. I showed you how we can look at the COVID-19 cases. So this is the snapshot static image. This is the snapshot static image of the COVID data. Let's look at India's data, which talks about 42,605 and daily confirmed cases of around more than 2,000 and total deaths of around 1,391 and having a death rate of 3.3%. So this gives us the deep insights about how we can leverage the online research processes and online portals and online apps together. Now, we talked about the employee engagement. We have an app which we can implement. That app is called Employee Engagement Survey. We can implement the app and we can engage with our employees. Particularly, the HR department looks at employee engagement and it collects the data and understands what percentage of people are satisfied. Are they happy with the pay rise or not? What has been the major reason of the attrition, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple factors, variables, and dimensions for the business stakeholders to analyze and realize by using the various technologies, softwares, apps, and various associated aspects. And it ultimately helps us in terms of analyzing the variables and the factors and giving them our best suggestions and recommendations. Now, last but not the least, this has been a major slide at my end, which I talk about. Most of the research findings internationally, we are dealing with static data we collect the data which becomes old and stale. So majorly the research findings are being done with static data, but technology, the apps, the softwares, the portals, and their online integration. Let me give you a small example. Well, we talk about SPSS, a statistical package for social sciences. The statistical package for social sciences has a web-based version wherein we can indicate that component of the software with our website, and we can get a real-time research output. We can get real-time research output on the various data which we can give it on a real-time basis. So most of the statistical softwares are now having the facility of integration on the websites so that we are getting real-time research findings, research outcomes, and we are able to make our research, business online research, more effective, more engaging, more meaningful, and giving better outcomes in terms of both qualitative as well as quantitative dimension. So we talk about the dynamic data. It helps us in giving us the real-time problems and real-time solutions. So that is very, very important. Now let's look at COVID. In terms of COVID, we have to see how the data is fluctuating in rest of the world and in India as well. And what are the strategies which rest of the world has adopted and how we should be able to contain. So it's very important for us to understand the emerging aspects of changing technologies, changing facilities, aspects, features, dimensions in the various softwares, so that we are able to leverage them and we are able to use them in solving our real world problems and research scenarios, issues. So with these words, I think I will leave the house open for the questions And over to you, Modi ji, for any of the questions and interventions. Modi ji, this was the last slide.
Thank you.
There?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In fact, if we wish, we can have some questions if you feel like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, actually, we are very thankful to you for the wonderful session, sir, for the wonderful presentation. Everybody really enjoyed. It was really an informative session, informative presentation, sir. And we have received so many queries regarding your presentation, sir. But I have selected few because of the limitation of time. So one of the question asked from Shruti Sharma, one of the participant, she is asking, does less objectives makes the research less effective? Does less objective makes the research less effective?
I will give a very balanced answer to this question. Well, there is no right answer to this question, let me be honest. Well, what really happens is, sometimes I'll give you a question for this. If I say, how are you feeling, good or bad? Then you say it's okay. Now, when you say it's okay, it's difficult to decide whether you are feeling good or bad. I hope you understand what I'm saying. If I ask you, how are you feeling? You say it's okay. So now I don't understand you're feeling good or bad. So, but when we are asking for a clear-cut answer, you have to answer between good or bad, and the person selects either good or bad. We are able to understand, well, he or she has felt good or he or she has felt bad. So in terms of having an objective questions, it helps us in terms of getting much better insights about the questions which we are looking for, the answers to the question. I don't know whether I have addressed the question or not, but I tried my best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And sir, Professor Andy Mathur, sir. Professor Andy Mathur, sir, is also asking a question that what are the features of the good research design?
Oh, well, this is $1 million question which we talk about good research design. I'm sure he is a person having decades of, accomplishments in this area. But I would still make a humble attempt towards answering this. When we talk about an optimal research design, well, first we'll start with the budget estimates of our research. It should be able to come within the budget because I come from the financial background. So it should be able to match the time dimension and the budgetary dimension, first of all. Second, it should be able to cater to the specific issues pertaining to the research problem which we have defined. We should have access to the required. Now, when we are making the design, we should know that, yes, we have access to these data and these respondents. So a multitude of factors and dimensions are to be taken into consideration, especially when we are looking at the sampling techniques. So all aspects are very crucial, and we need to understand how we are going to structure our research design. So it's like balancing between the research problem and the kind of data which we have at hand, the time and the financial constraints and various other aspects. So it's like striking a balance between the problem and the available resources to find solutions to the problem, I think will help us in reaching the right research design. Yes, please.
Professor Andy Mathur, sir, is there anybody you want to ask, sir? I will, please, you can unmute yourself.
There are some hands being raised probably.
Yeah, sir, so many questions, sir. But sir, and sir, one more questions. Professor Anil Mehta is asking, are these software available to everyone free of cost, like Microsoft BI?
Yes, it is available free of cost for 60 days for trial. So
60 days for trial.
Accessible free, yeah.
Yeah, okay, sir. Okay, thank you. And sir,
yes,
the one
Shatrughan Patolaji has raised hand. If you can allow them.
Shatrughan Patola. Yes, Shatrughan ji. Yes, you can ask. Shatrughan ji, you can ask. Please unmute yourself. Professor Shatrughan ji. You can
Sir,
unmute.
I am
Yes, yes.
sir,
Yes,
I am working
yes,
at the
we
degree
can hear you.
college.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there is no more such type of the research is working.
Yes, your voice is audible. Please go ahead.
Hello,
Please
Yeah,
ask
Patolaji, please
once
go ahead.
again. Please ask once again. Please ask once again.
sir, I am working at the degree college,
Yes.
and this type of the advanced research is there. So, as a teacher, what we can do?
Okay, I have an answer to this. As a teacher, this is our first responsibility to enhance our knowledge, skills, and competencies in the domain of research as far as possible, humanly possible. So this, whatever I have discussed today, Microsoft Power Business Intelligence, available free of cost. You can use it with your official email ID. It's available free of cost. So you can always leverage your, maximize your research proficiency towards that while dealing with online research data.
Okay, sir.
Am I clear to
Thank
you?
you so much. Yeah. Thank you so
My
much,
pleasure.
sir. And one more participant, Vasudha. Vasudha ji, you can ask. You can ask, Vasudha ji. Please unmute yourself. Vasudha ji, you can ask. Okay, Eastern Himalaya, you can ask. Unmute yourself.
Sir, can I ask now? I was not able to unmute myself.
Yes,
Yes,
you can ask. Yes, you can ask.
All right, sir. Sir, actually, I'm actually conducting a research wherein I had a questionnaire where strongly agree and strongly disagree kind of questions are
Please
there.
be loud enough.
So it was,
Please be loud.
all right, sir. So am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes,
be
you are
louder.
audible. Please ask first.
Yes, sir. So I've just prepared a questionnaire wherein my questions are basically on the degree of strongly agree and disagree. All I wanted to ask was, which can be the appropriate statistical tool to analyze it meaningfully?
To understand which is the most appropriate statistical tool to use it, well, we need to understand. I'll tell you, you need to be adept at all your tools which you have and what is the research findings. So technically, I would suggest you to be a more voracious reader in terms of the various tools, because we need to understand the research problem at hand and what are the research findings, what is the quality of data, what has been the sampling technique, what are the aims and objectives of your research. So giving an answer offhand which statistical tool may not be appropriate at right now, but it's important for you to read more and more about the various statistical tools so that you are able to tell which is the best one. I'll give you a small example so that you understand. The doctor studies about 5,000 diseases and 50,000 medicines, but when a patient goes, he gives only one. So we need to understand the various types of statistical tools and techniques which are available to us, and the problem at hand, you'll have to find which would be the most appropriate tool.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have a question. Thanks. I have a question from Riti. Can we use this real-time data as they are given off, or we need to modify it? Well, for the real-time data which is coming, we do not need to modify it. We can just take them as it is. Well, in case if you wish to have them in different format, that's not called data modification. You can just change the format. I have a question from Anil Mehta, sir. Do you think that traditional research methods have lost their relevance because of these new tools and softwares? Well, I may not say categorically yes, but I would not say no as well. So I would be on the middle path that yes, sir, the traditional research methods, they had a lot of time to take in terms of collecting data and application of tools. Now we are in the era of online data sources and integration of statistical software, giving us the research findings on real time within fraction of second. So in, let's say in terms of Bombay Stock Exchange, we have to do trend analysis. So we are getting trend analysis on the tick time of microseconds. So in that case, yes. But in all other cases, I would not say categorically yes. So I'm between yes and no, 50-50. And I have another software Yes, Anil Mehta sir has asked, are these softwares available to everyone free of cost? Yes, it's available to everyone free of cost if they are having an official email ID of their own. And there is another question from Anurag Pandey who says, wonderful session, sir. Please advise how to create such dashboard. Please log into Power BI of Microsoft with your official email ID. And are these dashboards developed or a part of any analytical tools like Google Analytics? Google Analytics is separate, which is part of Google Marketing. But this Crumble is using Google Analytics data and made this app. So it's different. I would request and invite you to explore Google Power Business Intelligence. I'm sorry, it's Microsoft Power Business Intelligence to go ahead with this. I have somebody, Galaxy J6, asking, what is applied research? Well, I think this is whatever I was talking about was applied research. The real world data coming to us and we are applying in the real life to make a comparative analysis vis-a-vis other countries. So that is the applied research. We are getting real-time data from multiple countries and we are applying it. We can see the ranking of different countries on a real-time basis on the basis of various variables. So that is something. Says, how can we have a question from Shweta Solanki who's asking, how can we acquire BI dashboard for our thesis data? Well, what I would suggest you please, first of all, spend more time with the product which is available free of cost. And once you are proficient with the free product, probably then you can think of buying it on a module basis and use it for your thesis as well. And we have a data from question from Dr. Mangu Rao. Sir, what is the difference between parametric test and non-parametric test? I'm sure this is a brilliant question. Well, in statistics, we talk about statistics and parameter. Statistic and parameter, that's the basic difference. So when we are doing a test for a specific parameter, we are calling it as a parametric test. And for all other tests, we call them as non-parametric tests, and they are aimed at specific aims and objectives. There are multiple types of parametric and non-parametric tests. I'm sure the books of statistics are readily available for this. I'll invite you, and I'm sure you are proficient enough to differentiate between the two. I think there are one or two more questions. I'll take up those questions. I have with us, just a moment, I have Mr. Galaxy J6 saying wonderful session. Dr. Priya saying thank you very much, sir. Reeti asking, can we use this real-time data as they are given or we need to modify it? No need to modify, you can use it as it is. And as you said previously, static and dynamic data. My question is, which is most authentic? Well, both are authentic. Static is also authentic and dynamic is also authentic. The challenge is dynamic data gives us real-time problems and solutions. Now, in terms of COVID-19, if we collect the data of last 1 year of death in America and then we take a decision about the country, we will be gone. So it's like both are authentic. It's a matter of speed, how fast we take the data, analyze it, and solve the research problem. So that's very, very important. And we have some more. Good afternoon. I think we have, sir, do you think amid COVID and lockdown, traditional research method will have no importance, but at the same time, primary is collected majorly through traditional methods only? Well, I don't negate the basic tendency of traditional research method, but when we say we have to stay at home, I think it's better to adopt new technologies, new tendencies to solve new problems. See, imagine if we have to solve the problem of COVID and we do COVID research and we go personally to a COVID patient, we will be gone. So in such cases, we cannot do research with COVID patients. It's better to do online, and then we can take these decisions. So it's important for us to understand that online data is more important for us in such scenarios. There is Manisha Singh asking, what will be the relevance of real-time data collected online? You think that these data will be reliable for our research work in future? Thank you, sir. Well, if I give you the actual crux of the situation in COVID-19, we could get the real-time data from the developed economies and their death situations. So India as a country, we could take quick response to our country, and we gave the lockdown recommendation and intervention to the country. So that really helped us a lot. So real-time data is definitely good for real-time problems. Now the problem at hand is, what should we do to minimize the death in our country? So for that, real-time data is the only solution. There is Muhammad Ghulam Sabir is asking, please answer me, sir. I can't find his question. Sebastian came, how do we use this empirical data in qualitative research? Well, when we talk about qualitative research, yes, empirical data is also available for qualitative research, wherein the feedback may be in form of various texts and sentences. So there are stipulated softwares which are dedicated for qualitative research, which talks about how many times a particular text or a particular word has been repeated. So we can use it. Sir, SPSS is better or Microsoft BI? $1 million question. Well, if I say in favor of any one of them, the other one may sue me. But I can give you my views particularly. I have found SPSS to be more user-friendly with me. But what BI gives is slightly different. BI is able to give us real-time data interface and real-time dashboard and real-time solution to multiple research. So we cannot say which one is better. Both of them are competitive with each other. SPSS has also an option to integrate with the web-based mechanism. So once we implement SPSS on our website and integrate it with our data sources, it's also able to give the real-time impact as good as Microsoft Power BI. But Power BI has multiple apps of multiple domains. So that is very, very, user-friendly, and it enables the researchers in many ways. Item in it, existing literature only, or we can design question relevant to the study if it gets validated. Well, I have multiple questions coming in, and I think I'm falling short of time. So can we take up one or two more questions, Modi ji?
Sir, actually,
Now time.
we are running out of time.
Okay, fine. So we can conclude the session now. We can take them offline. You can send them and I can take them off.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I am sending the assignment link on the chat box of Zoom and YouTube live comment. Sir, please, can you exit your share screen, Professor Rana Singh?
Yes, please. Done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Just wait, participants. I am sharing the assignment link. Yes, I have shared the assignment link on Zoom chat box. You can see that. Now I am sharing on YouTube also. Yes, I have shared. And if anybody don't get the link, he can WhatsApp me or email me. My number is, I think all of you have my number. My number is 98285711010. And an email ID, I think, is all of with you. So you can ask me for the assignment link. and it is mandatory to submit the this assignment for all the participants. So friends, that's from my side. We will meet tomorrow at the same time, 11 a.m. for the second day. Now I invite Professor Anil Mehta to speak few words about today's presentation. Professor Anil Mehta.
Yeah. Professor Rana, Sambothi, Dr. Ravi, it was in a wonderful presentation.
राजीव सर को तो उसके बाद आएगा.
Most enlightening, and Rana presented a very lucid way. To learn any tool or technique, to learn to make ourselves familiarize with all these software, what is needed is that each one of us, whether we have obtained our PhD or done a lot of research, even then, we should undertake more research projects. We should write more research articles and try to apply these software. That's what Prof. Rana has discussed with us, because practice makes a man perfect. So unless we apply all these tools and techniques, we will not be able to make ourselves familiarize with. Prof. Rana, you have really inspired all of us to carry researches. In fact, the tool techniques that you have discussed, will certainly authenticate our research, and we will be able to present it in a very, very appealing way. So all the participants who learn and will agree with me that today, course, the younger generation can apply all these tools and techniques effectively, but Rana, we should believe that what you have discussed today, it has certainly enhanced my quest, my thrust to learn more and use these software, more about these tools and software. So once again, thank you very much for enlightening all of us about the latest to which many of us were not familiar at all. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Ravi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful words. Now I invite Dr. Rajesh Srivastav, Principal, LBS PG College and Vice President, Inspira Research Association, to give vote of thanks. Professor Rajesh Srivastav, sir.
आरके मोदी साहब सबका वीडियो खुलवा लीजिए, स्क्रीनशॉट ले लीजिए.
जी please I request all the participants to open the video. I request all the participants. Yes. Thank you. Okay, sir. Okay, Dr. Rajesh Srivastav, sir, please.
Good afternoon, all. As all good things come, I, Dr. Rajesh Srivastav, on behalf of LBS PG College, Jaipur, and Inspira Research Association, Jaipur, would like to thank everyone for participating in the webinar on 3 days National Online Faculty Development Program and Management Development Program on research methodology, tools and techniques. I hope today's session on research methodology, technological perspective was an enriching for you as it was for me. It gives me pleasure to see that learning has not stopped in these uncertain times of COVID-19, and the zeal for learning is very much alive in everyone. I would also like to thank our speaker, Professor Dr. Rana Singh, for sharing his knowledge with everyone and making this session more interesting and meaningful. It was truly a great privilege to attend the session, which was filled with such knowledgeable presenters and enthusiastic participants. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone and especially Dr. Ravikant Modi, who worked really hard to make sure this webinar was a success by providing perfect logistic support and assistance. Let's continue learning and growing together. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful words, sir. Professor Asad, you want?
Now, thank you to all of you. Now, on tomorrow, we shall meet at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I am ending the meeting. Please ask me on WhatsApp or email if any query. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.